TC, one word to describe today.
Only one word. Unreal. That's fire. Honestly, unreal.
Caitlin Clark just returned to Iowa, and she shut the entire state down. But what happened next shook the basketball world. It was supposed to be just another preseason game. No standings, no playoff stakes, just a warm-up match between Indiana and Brazil. But the moment Caitlin Clark was announced, everything changed. Thousands of fans swarmed Carver-Hawkeye Arena hours before game time. Some took off work.
It's amazing, just to see that how many people just love her in this city. She made her mark here, and it's just incredible to see all the fans and how much she's just put into work, and then the impact she's had on this city is just amazing to see.
Many paid over $600 just to be there. Not for the game, but for the moment. The return, the reunion, the star that is Caitlin Clark.
In the preseason that we have ever experienced.
I mean, it's incredibly electric here. It's unlike many regular season games. We're getting to the arena 3 hours early, and there are people outside tailgating, just getting ready for this moment they're about to experience.
She hadn't played on this court in nearly a year, but the second she stepped on the hardwood, time froze. The crowd roared to a blistering 116 decibels, louder than a touchdown at Lambeau, even louder than a buzzer beater in the NBA playoffs.
What does it mean to you to be going back to play at Iowa, but this time with your jersey in the rafters?
Yeah, I'm super excited to go back and play at Iowa. Obviously a place that has meant a lot to me, and we've had so many amazing games inside that arena, so it'll be fun to be back in front of those fans, and honestly to get to introduce those fans to all my new teammates. And the Indiana Fever, I think, will be really special because they love supporting all of us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I know it's gonna be a special day.
And then, just when the noise couldn't possibly get louder, Caitlin Clark pulled up from 36 feet from the exact same spot where she shattered the NCAA scoring record and nailed it. Her signature logo 3 was back home.
I mean, come on.
The crowd lost it, her teammates lost it, and the entire basketball world was reminded Caitlin Clark is not just back, she's better than before. This wasn't just a homecoming, it was a warning, and if this was only preseason, the WNBA has no idea what's coming next.
What are you the most excited to show your teammates around campus?
Ooh. Honestly, I'm most excited to show them how cool Iowa City is. Like, people don't realize how good of a college town that place is. My teammates just expect it to be cornfields, but I'm like, no, it's one of the greatest colleges. So, yeah, downtown Iowa City is where it's at. So we'll give them a little tour, and I'm sure they're going to want to come back.
This night wasn't about warm-ups or stat sheets. It was about a bond between a city and its icon. When Caitlin Clark returned to Carver-Hawkeye Arena, she didn't come back as a college kid chasing records. She came back as a professional, a household name who had changed the face of women's basketball. But what made this moment different wasn't just the standing ovations or the packed seats. It was the look in her eyes as she stood at center court. This was personal. This was home.
Yeah, getting to go back to Iowa, it's so exciting. I obviously haven't really been there much since I left about a year ago. And I think just getting to see people that have supported me throughout my career and continue to support me is going to be incredible. But also, like, they're the biggest Indiana Fever fans too now. Like, they want to meet all my teammates. They want to cheer for my teammates. And I was telling some of the girls this the other day, I'm like, they're gonna go crazy for you too.
And she wasn't alone. For the first time, she brought her Indiana Fever teammates with her, introducing them to the place where it all began, to the fans who had cheered her every move, lived through every buzzer beater, and watched her go from a freshman with promise to a generational superstar. Clark told her teammates, they're going to go crazy for you too. And she wasn't exaggerating. From warm-ups to the final buzzer, the fans screamed for everyone in a Fever jersey. This wasn't a solo spotlight, it was a full team celebration.
They're gonna have signs about you. They want your autograph. They want a high five from you. And I think that's what I appreciate about them the most is, like, they wanna cheer not only for myself, but everybody else on this team. And they have so much fun watching us. So now getting to take the Indiana Fever to them and their environment, I was was telling Lexi and some of the other girls this the other day is like, this will be the loudest arena you have ever played in. They're gonna scream, they're gonna cheer. When I tell them to get up, they're gonna get up. So it'll be fun to get to go back there since my last time playing there in the NCAA tournament my senior year. So it should be really special.
But listen to this. Even though it felt like a reunion, Clark wasn't chasing memories. She was building something new. She didn't look like a player coming home to soak up nostalgia. She looked like a leader returning with unfinished business. And 15,000 people were ready to ride with her. The crowd had already hit 116 decibels during introductions, but they hadn't seen anything yet, because with 25 seconds left in the third quarter, Caitlin Clark did something that turned a legendary night into a historic one.
Here's Clark. Wow! You bet! From beyond the logo!
A 36-foot bomb from way beyond the logo. The arena didn't just erupt, it shook. The crowd exploded to a deafening 117 decibels. It was the kind of sound that doesn't just echo through the building, it echoes through history. But what made it even more unreal? That shot wasn't random. It came from the exact same spot where Clark had broken Kelsey Plum's all-time NCAA scoring record months earlier.
Tell me about the 22 logo on the court at Iowa and what it means to you.
22 spot on the court, that's where I broke the NCAA women's record from versus Michigan. It's a little symbol of where I shot from, so it's cool they did that.
Same court, same arc, same result. Only this time, she wasn't wearing black and gold. She was leading the Indiana Fever. Even her teammates couldn't believe it. Sophie Cunningham joked post-game, "When you scored, no one really cared." Lexi Hull laughed and said no one even noticed. But that sarcasm was covering something obvious. Every player, coach, and fan in that building felt something shift in that moment. That shot didn't just say she was back. It said she's better, bolder, and still writing her story. And it's far from over.
Rebound, Fever. Caitlin pulls top of the key. Good! And she falls down to her left. No foul.
This wasn't the same Caitlin Clark who left Iowa 7 months ago. Sure, the swagger was still there, but something else had changed. This Caitlin Clark looked stronger, sharper, smarter, and more dangerous than ever. The first sign? Her body. Clark hit the floor plenty of times during her rookie season, but this time she didn't fall as easily. She absorbed contact, powered through defenders, and got buckets that would have knocked her off balance just last year. That extra muscle on her frame wasn't for show. It was a statement. She's not just built for highlights anymore, she's built for war. But it wasn't just her strength, it was her vision. Clark was seeing the floor 2 steps ahead of everyone. One pass threaded perfectly between 2 defenders found Aaliyah Boston in stride for an easy score. Another skipped cross court to Kelsey Mitchell before the defense even realized she was open. These weren't flashy plays, they were clinical. Clark was operating like a surgeon, dissecting Brazil's defense with no wasted motion.
Boston sends it Mitchell left wing. A little bit of room. She fires. Good! And a foul! Chance for a 4-point play for Kelsey Mitchell. Timpson back to Clark. Corner kick left side. Quick ball movement. Cunningham. Right wing 3. Good!
Here's Howard running with Colson. Oh, Colson! Some trickery behind the back.
And through it all, that signature joy never left her face. She smiled after assists, clapped for teammates' rebounds, and kept the energy high on every possession. She wasn't forcing it, she was flowing. Fully in control, yet totally unselfish. This wasn't a player trying to prove she still had it. This was a player who had leveled up. But the real game changer? She's no longer carrying the entire team by herself. For the first time in her career, Caitlin Clark doesn't have to do it all. And it shows. From the opening tip, it became clear. This Indiana Fever team is real. Kelsey Mitchell came out firing, dropping 17 points and knocking down 4 triples. Most of them set up by Clark's precision passing. But it wasn't just the offense. Mitchell picked up 3 steals and played with a defensive edge that hadn't always been there. She looked like a star in her own right, not just a sidekick, but a true backcourt partner. Then came Aaliyah Boston, the anchor. Her chemistry with Clark looked like it had been years in the making. 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. And most importantly, 0 hesitation. Their 2-woman game already looks like one of the most dangerous in the league. Boston's decision-making, strength, and touch in the paint created a balance that freed Clark to be creative without being burdened. But it gets better, because Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham brought the fire. Hull hit 3 from deep, spacing the floor perfectly. Cunningham, she didn't just make smart reads. She set the tone with energy, grit, and that basketball IQ that coaches dream of. It's clear now, the Fever aren't just building a roster, they're building an identity. This isn't Caitlin Clark and the rest. This is a unit, and they're just getting started. But the real shocker, it wasn't the scoring, it was what they did without the ball.
First and foremost, that everybody was ready to go when their number was called. That is so important in this league, to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Now there are, and especially with our team, we're going to have quality depths at every position, and there are going to be some games where these women deserve to play and they're not going to play. There's going to be some games where they're in and out of rotation, and they have to stay ready because when their number is called, they've got to be able to impact the game in a positive way.
If last season was about survival, this one is about domination. And the biggest difference? Defense. The Indiana Fever didn't just put on a scoring clinic against Brazil. They turned up the pressure, locked in, and made a statement on the other end of the floor. Brazil, a seasoned national team, was held to single-digit scoring in 2 different quarters. That's not just impressive, and that's unheard of for a team that finished near the bottom of the standings last year. Head coach Stephanie White didn't sugarcoat it either. Our defense was really good, she said.
Lots of areas for growth for us, for sure, but I felt like we got better today.
We're still cleaning up some communication, but this was a step in the right direction. And that step, it looked like a leap. Players rotated with purpose. Closeouts were sharp, switches were clean, the effort was contagious, and the chemistry, it showed. And on offense, the pace was night and day from last season. Gone were the clunky, isolation-heavy sets. In their place, constant motion, cuts, extra passes, shooters finding space, then getting hit in rhythm by pinpoint feeds. And at the center of it all, Caitlin Clark orchestrating the entire thing without dominating the ball. This wasn't the same Indiana Fever. This wasn't a rebuild. This looked like the beginning of a takeover. But what came after the final buzzer? That's what really left everyone speechless.
Final score, Fever 108, Brazil 44. A successful homecoming for Caitlin Clark and Indiana and Iowa.
When the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard read 108-44, a blowout by any standard. But no one in that arena was looking at the score. All eyes were on Caitlin Clark, and as she scanned the crowd, the cheers didn't fade. They only got louder. Fans stood, some cried, and Clark, you could see it in her eyes. This moment meant everything. She wasn't just a player returning to her college gym. She was a symbol of change, of hope, of what's possible when greatness meets gratitude. And when she hugged her old Iowa coaches and staff, when she waved to the 15,000 people still screaming her name, it was obvious. This was more than a game. This was family.
I think it's hard to put into words like what exactly it means to me. It's almost overwhelming to a point. Like I'm just very, very thankful to be able to come back to a place that continues to support me, and it's just fun to come back here and like kind of feel like you're in college again in a way, but also it was a little weird like going in the locker room but I don't know, something about this gym like just makes me play well, and these shoes, like it just, I don't know. So there's something about it, but I just, a lot of gratitude, and just these are the moments that like you never take for granted and you kind of just want to stay in for forever. So.
But the most powerful moment didn't happen on the court. It happened after, during Clark's post-game interview. Fighting back tears, she thanked the fans not for their applause, but for always having her back. And just when it seemed like the night had reached its emotional peak, she spotted a swarm of young kids in the stands, holding signs, jerseys, and handwritten letters. She didn't walk by them, she walked straight toward them. Because for Clark, this isn't just about winning games. It's about lifting the next generation. Even if I scored 0 points, she said, they still would have been screaming my name. And that puts everything into perspective.
I'm glad I can be a role model for them, and they have a great impact on me too, and that's why you do it. Even at the end of the day, say I scored 0 points, I'm sure they still would have been there screaming my name and wanting an autograph, and I think that just really kind of puts into perspective the impact, and there's a lot more bigger things in life than basketball.
And that's what separates her. The logo threes might make the highlights, but it's the humility, the connection, and the responsibility she carries that's changing the sport, not just for herself, but for every young girl watching who now believes there's a place for her in the spotlight too. But make no mistake, her story is only beginning. beginning. This wasn't just a preseason game, it was a message. To the WNBA, to the doubters, to anyone still questioning the impact of Caitlin Clark. Because on one unforgettable night in Iowa, the world saw what happens when talent, heart, and legacy collide. She returned to the court where her legend was born and proved that she's not just living off the past. She's rewriting the future. But here's the scariest part for the rest of the league. This was just the beginning. The Indiana Fever didn't just win a game. They unveiled a blueprint, a team that plays fast, defends hard, shares the ball, and feeds off a generational star who somehow looks even better than before. With veterans buying in, rookies stepping up, and a culture built on trust and fire, this isn't just a team on the rise. This is a movement. So if you think a 36-foot logo 3 in a preseason game was wild, just wait. The 2025 season hasn't even started yet, and the Fever are already turning the league upside down. If you're fired up for what's next in the upcoming season, drop a comment below, hit like, and subscribe, because what's coming next might just change women's basketball forever.